Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Credit, AFP BBC Two, 9 p.m. This detailed three-part series on the ruling family of Saudi Arabia makes for unmissable if terrifying television. Dispensing with any sort of Adam Curtis-style frills, the opening film simply talks us through the House of Saud's involvement in recent history, from Sarajevo to Syria. Hearing from intelligence analysts and longtime Saudi observers, it builds a complicated picture of the uneasy relationship between the Saudi royal family and Wahhabism, the particular strain of Islam they promote. It's a story that encompasses a small hamlet in Bosnia, a family home in India, weapons dealt from Bulgaria to Afghanistan, and online films watched all over the world. Much is made of the new crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, and his desire for reform. It's not a question of how important he is to this, announces one observer, but it remains hard to judge just how much of his actions are driven by genuine belief and how much constitute a power grab. Ultimately, what lingers is not the political revelations, interesting though they are, but the interviews with the blinded of Syria, the wounded of Iraq, the devastated of Bosnia, the countless casualties of the geopolitical game. Sarah Hughes, BBC 4, 9 p.m. Tudor England might seem like a subject that has been covered so much that there is nothing new to be said about it. But hold on to those gripes, because Helen Castor's detailed look at the 9-day reign of Lady Jane Grey is an invigorating, intelligent take on the period. Using a wide range of old documents and interesting voices, Castor guides us through Jane's brief, unlucky life, examining how she ended up as a pawn between two powerful factions and why it was that she found herself raised from relative obscurity to the dizzying heights of the English throne. School for Stammerers. ITV, 9 p.m. Speech impediments can be devastating to live with, as this thoughtful film, which follows 6 people living with a stammer, demonstrates. One solution on offer is the intensive Maguire program, a residential course that promises life-changing results, albeit under tough conditions. 24 hours in 8. Channel 4, 9 p.m. The Fly on the Wall medical series continues with this week's patients, including Marie, who arrives by ambulance at St. George Hospital having collapsed at home with an unexplained headache. The Blacklist. Sky 1, 9 p.m. The ludicrous and yet strangely enjoyable U.S. spy series continues with James Spader's Slick Red this week setting his sights on wealthy art thief Grayson Blazoane Yeoman. While Red gallivants abroad, Tom Ryan at Gold seeks help to identify the bones in the suitcase. Shush. BBC Two, 10 p.m. This melancholy tale in the excellent comedy anthology is of rivalry and friendship lost. Reece Shearsmith is Tommy, who grumpily agrees to perform with former stand-up partner Len Steve Pemberton, 30 years after they split in mysterious circumstances. Working Class White Men. Channel 4, 10 p.m. Rapper Professor Green has been quietly making a name for himself as a filmmaker, and this fascinating film about white working-class men is one of the week's highlights. Green's tense meeting with Britain First will garner the headlines, but there is hope here too, with Lewis, the teenage would-be mathematician, the show's highlight. Shush. The Fault in Our Stars. 2014 film. 4, 9 p.m. Josh Boone's film, adapted from the phenomenally successful young adult novel, about 2 American teenagers both diagnosed with cancer, is wisely observed and tenderly performed, most notably by Shailene Woodley. The basic storyline is so worn it's close to threadbare, love story told it more than 40 years ago, but it comes with enough quirks to give it the appearance of freshness. The Lincoln Lawyer. 2011 More. 4, 9 p.m. He won acclaim for his role as enigmatic detective Rust Cohill in the TV series True Detective, but Oscar winner Matthew McConaughey stars here in the sort of courtroom drama for which he made his name. This time he's Mick Haller, a slick LA defense lawyer who prefers to represent the guilty. However, a wealthy new client, Ryan Phillippe, prompts Haller to address his own past sins. London Live. 12.00 Midnight. Best known for Midnight Cowboy, for which he won 3 Oscars, John Schlesinger ranged from violent thrillers Marathon Man to romantic epics far from the madding crowd to perceptive humans as an Englishman abroad, but he indicated the breadth of his ambitions with this gritty social drama featuring Tom Courtenay as an undertaker's clerk with extravagant fantasies. Wednesday, the 10th of January. Sarah Lancashire. Credit, Channel 4. Channel 4, 9 p.m. Screenwriter Jack Thorne follows up the excellent National Treasure with another superbly cast, nimble and dark exploration of contemporary mores. Thorne's careful research is all over this opening episode of 4, yet it never feels didactic or clumsy. Kiri follows the investigation into the abduction of the titular black girl Kiri Akindele Felicia Mikasa by her birth family, just days before she is due to be adopted by her white foster family, headed up by Leah Williams and Stephen McIntosh. Sarah Lancashire plays Miriam Grayson, the social worker who allows Kiri's ill-fated unsupervised visit. Lancashire picks her projects carefully, and this is a performance to rank alongside her BAFTA-winning turn in Happy Valley. Miriam is an imperfect Samaritan, trying her best amid funding cuts, weak superiors and a dormant drink problem. From the moment that the girl disappears and director Euros Lynn's color palette darkens, the focus seems to be as much on apportioning blame as finding the missing girl. It's a desperate situation shot through with guilt and human frailty, yet not without humor, another modern tragedy from a writer who specializes in them. Gabriel Tate, BBC One, 8 p.m. Cherry Healy and 25 volunteers and experts from the universities of Sheffield and Sunderland join forces to separate scientific fact from marketing fiction in the £9 billion per annum industry of cosmetics, in particular weighing up the pros and cons of moisturizers and cellulite solutions. Britain's brightest family ITV, 8 p.m. Anne Hegarty, familiar as the Chase's governess, oversees a new quiz show in which family members must show off their own general knowledge and nominate relatives according to their perceived areas of expertise. A Stitch in Time, BBC 4, 8:30 p.m. This fascinating series finds fashion historian Amber Butchart displaying a variety of eye-catching headgear to scrutinize Jan van Eyck's The Arnolfini portrait for clues about its subjects and the 15th century world that they inhabited. Couturier Nina Mikhaila, meanwhile, recreates the green gown worn by the painting's pregnant woman. Miriam's Big American Adventure, BBC One, 9 p.m. Scotland, 10:45 p.m. Miriam Margolyes hits Middle America, where she encounters young Indiana summer campers pledging their allegiance, slightly older drug casualties in Ohio and survivalists of all ages in Tennessee, fighting for air. BBC Two, 9 p.m. Campaigning doctor and inescapable TV face Zand van Tulleken examines the grim effects of air pollution on the body, before traveling to Birmingham to bring clean air to One High Street using a combination of technological expertise and community goodwill. GT BBC 4, 9 p.m. While dedicating 3 hours to just 9 days of British history might seem like overkill, here it almost feels inadequate, such is the wealth of incident and intrigue in Dr. Helen Castor's series. This middle episode follows the 5 days that determined whether or not Lady Jane would survive on the throne. The reconstructions are decent and the CGI sparingly used. Instead, Castor lets the experts do the talking in an engaging piece of narrative history, concluding tomorrow. GT Tunes of Glory 1960 Movies for Men, 4 p.m. British director Ronald Neame made some of the best-known films of the 20th century, including The Prime of Miss Jean Bro and The Poseidon Adventure, but this was his personal favourite. It focuses on personal rivalries within a fictional Highland regiment after the Second World War. John Mills plays a new, authoritarian CO, and Alec Guinness, cast against type, gives an exceptional performance as his lax, hard-drinking predecessor. JFK 1991 film for 11:55 p.m. Oliver Stone is in conspiracy theorist mode for this film about the murder of President John F. Kennedy. Whatever you make of Stone's theory that the assassination was an FBI plot, lawyer Jim Garrison's Kevin Costner showdown moment when he demonstrates that JFK was by multiple bullets is jaw-dropping. Costner, fresh from the Oscars' glory of Dances with Wolves, is a magnetic lead. Channel 4, 1:10 a.m. Jesse Eisenberg is superb as the gauche cyber geek who became a billionaire in his 20s in this dazzling dramatization of the story of Facebook. It may necessarily be speculative in parts about Mark Zuckerberg and his invention, but this is a brilliantly scripted and absolutely gripping tale of clashing egos, precocious talent and betrayal. Justin Timberlake and Andrew Garfield also star. Thursday, the 11th of January, Cheetahs in Namibia. Credit, BBC One, 8 p.m. One Family, 40 Different Faces. That's how this beautifully shot 3-part series about the planet's top wild predator, the cat, begins, with a kaleidoscope of feline faces that perfectly illustrates the huge variety and essential similarity between the many different branches of the family. Not all of them are big. 1. The rusty spotted cat, a kittenish, ultra-rare inhabitant of Sri Lanka's jungles, is so tiny when fully grown that it can fit in the palm of your hand. Although it makes up for its small stature with surprising ferocity, the series took 2 years and 30 separate filming expeditions to make, traveling to all 4 corners of the globe to show just how adaptable wildcats have evolved to be. In this opening edition we see not only relatively familiar sights such as cheetahs and lions chasing down water buffalo and giraffe in Africa, but also some rarities, such as snow leopard searching the Himalayas for a mate. Plus, Siberian tigers and the elusive Canada lynx make appearances. There are surprises, too, in footage of jaguars taking on caiman in the waters of the Pantanal, and pumas hunting penguin on the freezing southern shores of Patagonia. Gerard Oudenoven Sky Sports main event, 8 a.m. action from the opening day's play at the city of Ekurhuleni in Gauteng, South Africa, where Graham Storm was the winner last year. Having very nearly lost his tour card in 2016, the Englishman defeated Northern Irish star Rory McIlroy in a playoff to win his second title on the tour and his first since the 2007 Open de France. EastEnders BBC One, 7:30 p.m. Mello and Tamsin Outhwaite returns to Albert Square after a 16-year absence. Last time around she married twice, burnt down a nightclub, was kidnapped and slept with her best friend's husband. So the producers' promise of an incredible storyline for her comeback is probably credible. The cruise returned to the Mediterranean at TV, 8:30 p.m. More stories of life on the cruise ship Royal Princess. Tonight, with 5,000 passengers and crew aboard, bad weather prevents the cruise ship from docking. England's Forgotten Queen, the life and death of Lady Jane Grey. BBC 4, 9 p.m. The concluding part of Helen Castor's fascinating account of England's 9-day queen opens on the 8th day of her reign, with armies heading for Framlingham Castle where her Catholic rival for the throne, Mary Tudor, had assembled a powerful force. Within a day, 16-year-old Jane would be betrayed, abandoned and consigned to the Tower of London. But her legacy, according to Castor, was far greater than her brief time on the throne suggests. At TV, 9 p.m. Wimpole Street, Marylebone, is home to the London Transgender Surgery, a private clinic catering for some of the estimated 130,000 Britons currently wishing to change gender. This revealing three-parter follows patients from initial consultations through to gender confirmation surgery. Walks with My Dog More 4, 9 p.m. The simple but engaging series in which celebrities take their four-legged friends for a trek through the UK's more scenic parts makes a welcome return. This time Hadrian's Wall, Norfolk and the Welsh Mountains are among the destinations. Actress Caroline Quentin leads off tonight, taking her pooch for a stroll around the Helford Estuary in Cornwall. Go Great Art ITV, 10:45 p.m. In this second episode of the art series, Tim Marlowe moves on to the 19th-century Parisian art collector Paul Durand-Ruel, whose financially risky landmark 1886 exhibition in New York thrust Impressionism into the mainstream. Marlowe examines his impact, and the lasting influence of Monet, Cézanne, Degas and Renoir. Go From Russia with Love 1963 ITV4, 9 p.m. Those were the days, the certainties of the Cold War, a beautiful Soviet defector and a chase across the Balkans. Will Spector avenge the of Dr. No Chance? Sean Connery was in the swing of things in his second outing as James Bond, pursued by two of 07's best adversaries, in Red Grant Robert Shaw and Rosa Kleblot-Lenya. Terence Young directs. Film 4, 11:15 p.m. This superb adaptation of John le Carré's brilliant, intricate Cold War spy novel is a triumph. The espionage drama follows the hunt for a Soviet double agent at the top of the British Secret Service, with Gary Oldman spearheading the excellent ensemble cast, which includes Colin Firth, Tom Hardy, John Hurt and Benedict Cumberbatch. It's funny, seductive and suspenseful. Goodfellas 1990 ITV4, 11:25 p.m. Martin Scorsese's Mafia masterpiece, adapted from a non-fiction book, has all the qualities of great cinema. It's thrilling, it's provocative, it's stylish, and it's got a young Robert De Niro in it. Ray Liotta plays the youngster who longs to be a gangster. De Niro and Joe Pesci are in the mob. Pesca's mother, meanwhile, reportedly asked him if he had to swear quite so much. The F word is used 300 times. Friday the 12th of January. REVD Matthew Stafford, REVD Nicholas Loden, FR Matthew Cashmore and REVD Ruth Hulse. Credit, BBC Two, 8:30 p.m. This amiable new series follows several vicars in their parishes in the Diocese of Hereford, the most rural in the Church of England. It's the standard heartwarming mixture of births, marriages and or as likeable Reverend Matthew Stafford, vicar at the village of Much Wenlock, says, hatched, matched and dispatched, but, for all that sense of familiarity, it's well made and very engaging. This opening episode sees Matthew officiate at a lovely local wedding, and Reverend Nicholas Loden, the rural dean of Abbeydoor and vicar of the Black Mountains Group, deal with the theft of the parish registry books. Whoever did this has got lessons that they need to learn. Elsewhere, Reverend Ruth Hulse, team vicar for West Hereford, organizes a funeral for much-loved former church warden Barbara. It's a huge loss, like losing a member of your own family, she says. Everyone involved comes out of it well, and Matthew manages to sneak a message in amid the jokes. I don't take myself seriously, but I do take God and what I do very seriously, he notes. So do his parishioners, many of whom admit that he's helped them see the church in a more favorable light. Sarah Hughes PGA Tour Golf, the Sony Open Sky Sports main event, 12:01 a.m. The opening day of the tournament at the YLICC in Honolulu, Hawaii, where Justin Thomas won the title last year. Room 101 BBC One, 8:30 p.m. Frank Skinner returns with a new series of the long-running show. This opener promises to be a lot of fun given that his guests, Charlie Brooker, Scarlett Moffat and Pearl Mackie, are not short of opinion. Among the objects up for inclusion in Room 101 are crocodiles, mosquitoes and haircuts. The second part of this food and art travelogue sees chef Giorgio Locatelli and art critic Andrew Graham Dixon visit the Basilica di San Clemente, the Testaccio Slaughterhouse and the Palazzo Colonna. As before, a great deal of the fun comes from the way that each man learns from the other. David Bowie Evening BBC 4, from 9 p.m. 2 years after David Bowie's, BBC 4 dedicates an evening to the rock great. First up is Francis Whiteley's 2013 film David Bowie, 5 years in the making of an icon, which looks at key moments in his career. These include his time as Ziggy Stardust, his reinvention as the Thin White Duke, the making of 1977's Heroes, and the global success of Let's Dance. It's followed by David Bowie and the story of Ziggy Stardust, which looks at how Bowie created his most infamous alter ego. Lethal Weapon ITV, 9 p.m. The rambunctious remake of the Danny Glover-Mel Gibson films roars back for a second series. It begins with an action-packed episode that sees Murtaugh Damon Wayans heading to Mexico to try to rein in partner Riggs Clayne Crawford, who is still seeking vengeance for his wife's, Sky One. 9 p.m. The second series of the food drama reaches its penultimate episode, and it's the anniversary of philanderer Leo's, which the families plan to mark with a feast. Naturally, nothing goes smoothly. Chef Gina Dawn French is pushed to the limits by her daughter Teresa's Tanya Reynolds' behavior, while Gina's love rival turned business partner Sam Amelia Fox takes out her anger on Chef Adam Aaron Anthony. Shush the Graham Norton Show BBC One, 10:35 p.m. Expect a super smooth evening as Graham Norton is joined by A-listers Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, who discuss Steven Spielberg's political drama The Post, but also share some good anecdotes amid all the mild ribbing. Shush the Polka King 2017 Netflix. From today, exuberant Jack Black plays to his strengths in this biopic, based on the documentary The Man Who Would Be Polka King, about a flamboyant Polish emigre turned polka king turned convicted Ponzi scheme criminal. Despite being a film about a scoundrel who swindled senior citizens out of millions of dollars in order to achieve the American dream, it's surprisingly entertaining, though a more serious consideration of con artists wouldn't have gone amiss. The Frogman 1951, B.W. Film 4, 4:35 p.m. A pleasingly understated yet atmospheric war drama in which Richard Widmark stars as a tough Navy commander put in charge of a team of demolition divers on a South Pacific island. At first, the arrival of their superior goes down like a lead diving suit, but he soon wins them over by neutralizing an undetonated torpedo. Due to the conditions being deemed too riotous, the female roles were written out. Sky Cinema premiere, 8 p.m. Get Out is one of the first films expressly to be set in a post-Obama era and is a breathlessly suspenseful exposé of the horror of liberal racism. Perfect White Rose Armitage. Allison Williams wants to allay the concerns of her boyfriend, black photographer Chris Daniel Kaluuya, and invites him to meet her parents. They don't bat an eyelid over his skin color, but the film rattles with provocations. Television previewers Toby Dancich, Catherine G., Simon Horsford, Sarah Hughes, Clive Morgan, Gerard Odonovan, Vicky Power, Patrick Smith, Gabriel Tate and Rachel Ward.